Yo friends, Sebastian and I are in our basement, and I just wanted to show you how I'm feeding our family a ton of free protein this winter. It's a real mess down here, but that is what you can expect when you're cracking nuts. I want to show you what I got here, how I acquired it for free, and how you can too. Now, this is the one selection I did pay for. These are a whole bunch of shagbark hickory nuts that I purchased from a woman on Facebook Marketplace. She had said this hickory tree was in her family. Her father planted it as a name variety tree, like when she was a kid, And this, not 2024, but 2023 was just an insane bumper crop year for her. And I bought like 4 or 5 of these grocery store bags from her. And when I say bought, I don't remember, but I do remember she essentially gave them to me. It was dirt cheap. She just really wanted to avoid having to crack them herself, and I was more than happy to spend my time doing it. This is a bag of pecans I got from a friend who just didn't know what to do with uncracked nuts. And finally, this is the main bulk of our free protein this winter. This is an onion bag filled with black walnuts. In our area, black walnut trees are one of the most abundant trees. Most of these nuts we got for...
But I read so far.
Most of these nuts I just got for free by picking them off our lawn and taking maybe a few hours in the fall to process them. Now, the main problem with black walnuts, and I think the reason that most people don't even bother picking them up, even though they're such an abundant free food resource, is that they're just really, really hard to crack open. Most of your typical walnuts are English walnuts, which have been bred to have thinner shells and be easier to crack open with one of your classic, like Christmas nutcrackers. Not this bad boy. But I'm going to tell you how I do crack these open, and I'm going to tell you how I quickly, with a very minimal amount of time, process all of the nuts which I need for the week and which make up a huge part of our weekly protein. This is the Grandpa's Goody Getter. One of the best nutcrackers on the market. I'm going to do a full review on it, but in short, I suggest you buy it if you have the money. It's a little too much for a young one to use, but it's not going to stop him from trying.
And as you can see here, it's really easy to use. You pull the lever back, put the nut in, pull the lever forward. When you crack it, here's what the hickory nut looks like. It's got some nice large chunks of nut meat. Even with the black walnut, while you have to pull the lever harder, you can still get some really nice sized chunks of nut meat.
Now, the Grandpa's Goody Getter solves the problem of making the nuts really easy to crack open. Now, the hickories and especially the pecans are pretty easy to crack open, but the black walnuts are impossible without a pretty high-powered machine like this. Now, there still is another problem to cover, and that is the problem of my time when it comes to getting the nut meat out of the cracked nut. This is a hickory nut that I just cracked open. When I pull it out of the Grandpa's Goody Getter, this is what it looks like. Now I still have to pry away all of these shells and then pick out the pieces and separate them from the shells. And sometimes it can be quite a bit more work than what I can do with just one hand here. When I bought the Grandpa's Goody Getter, they also included these, which are just a fantastic tool for cutting away kind of cracked shells. So this is a black walnut that I cracked open using the Goody Getter, and I was able to pry a few pieces of nut meat pretty easily out of it. But there's some more in here that I can't really get to with my hands. And these clippers are really great for going in here and cracking open the last bits of the nut to free the little nut meat. Now, as you can tell, it could take a lot of time and a lot of work to separate the nut meat from the cracked nuts and the shells. And if I wanted to create like a jar of just pure nut meat, that would take, I don't know, it might take like an hour of my time for a week's worth of nut meat. So this has been our family's solution to that time problem. About once a week or so, I head downstairs for 5 or 10 minutes and crack open a jar full of these mixed nuts. I just really quickly go, I crack the nuts open, and I toss them in here. I have a whole mixture of the pecans, the hickories, and the black walnuts. And then we just leave the jar out in a communal space on our counter or on our table. As we go about our week, we just stop in, we grab a nut from the bowl, and instead of just popping it right in our mouth, we take this, finish cracking it open, and then eat the nuts. It's still probably about that same hour's worth of work, but it's spread out throughout the whole week, and it's shared by the family, and it's kind of fun. You can crack a nut while chatting or while cooking dinner, whatever you're doing. Lastly, the other way I love doing this is around the kitchen table, especially when we have guests over. This makes for a really great and kind of fun thing to do after dinner's over and you're just sitting around and chatting. As you're chatting, you're just kind of cracking open nuts. I've been calling it our vegan crab fest. These nuts are just insanely good for you. They're full of tons of protein, healthy fats. They're fantastic. The black walnuts, like I said, anyone in my area at least can get easily a year's worth completely for free. I'm sure if you shop around on Facebook Marketplace or online, you could pretty easily find an affordable bag of unshelled nuts. The shelling is where most of the price comes from. And if you've never had a hickory nut, I highly recommend you try them. They're probably my favorite nuts on the planet. They kind of taste like pecan because they're in the same family, but they're a lot sweeter. Well, there it is. There's the process. Like I said, I'll do a full review on Grandpa's Goody Getter pretty soon, and in the fall, I'll try to record myself and talk about how I'm processing the black walnuts. Have a great day, friends.